Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down the information presented on the Green World Supplements website, specifically looking at its female care package and its overall approach to women's health.
Okay, so let's dive right in. The entire philosophy here seems to be built on one single core idea: hormonal imbalance. The website actually uses a pretty cool analogy, describing our hormones, all 50 plus of them, as a fine-tuned orchestra. But here's the catch. They say things like stress and diet can throw that entire orchestra out of tune, disrupting that really delicate balance.
So, to really get a grip on their thinking, we're going to follow the journey through female health that they've laid out for us. We'll start with the very basics of female hormones, move through the menstrual cycle, then fertility and menopause, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with the company's big picture philosophy.
All right, so let's start right where they do, with the foundational building blocks of female health.
According to the source material, everything really boils down to two key players, estrogen and progesterone. They basically frame estrogen as the main hormone driving all those major life stages, with progesterone acting as its essential partner, kind of like a co-pilot, helping to keep the menstrual cycle on track. You can really think of them as a team.
Now, let's see how they take this idea of a hormonal partnership and apply it to the first major topic they cover, the menstrual cycle and, its common challenges. And the first problem they decide to tackle is a very familiar one, premenstrual syndrome, or PMS. They define it by that collection of symptoms that, show up right before a period.
And as you can see, they list a whole range of symptoms, from the physical stuff like bloating to the emotional side, like mood swings. The underlying message here is pretty clear. All of these things can be traced back to that hormonal disruption we just talked about.
And this is where we see their core strategy just click into place. They've created this problem-solution model. So for each set of symptoms, they propose a targeted product. And notice how the soy power capsule is aimed right at the supposed root cause, regulating hormones, while other products, like the fish oil, are suggested for more specific symptoms like inflammation.
Following that natural life cycle, the website's journey then moves on from managing the monthly cycle to the next major stage, fertility and pregnancy.
Now, when it comes to infertility, the source is really clear that this isn't some simple single issue. They frame it as a complex challenge that can pop up from a whole bunch of different factors within the reproductive system.
The website identifies 4 potential root causes, which you can see laid out right here. And hey, take a look at that last one, hormonal imbalances. This is that exact same core idea we saw with PMS, and it's being presented again as a key factor in fertility.
So how do they propose to help with this? Well, their fertility care package is built around these 3 stated goals. It's really a multi-pronged approach. You've got one set of products to prepare the uterus, another to tackle that hormonal balance issue head-on, and a third to support the ovulation process itself.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting, because the site actually explains the claimed mechanism behind these key ingredients. Take the soy isoflavones, for example. They're described as plant-based compounds that can act as weak estrogen replacements. And this gives us a huge clue into their core strategy, using natural sources to try and influence the body's own hormone levels.
Continuing along this life journey, the focus naturally shifts from creating life to the next major transition that women go through, menopause.
So, how do they explain menopause? The source presents it as this big biological shift, defining this stage of life by one key change, a natural decline in the body's production of estrogen. And they connect this drop in estrogen to 2 different sets of issues. On one hand, you have the more immediate, common symptoms, like hot flashes, but they also point to more serious long-term risks that can develop, like an increased risk for heart disease and osteoporosis.
And you can probably guess the pattern by now. The solution they propose is designed to target these specific problems. Notice the soy power capsule making an appearance again. Its soy isoflavones are recommended for symptom relief, which ties right back to that idea of replacing lost estrogen. Meanwhile, calcium is offered up to address that long-term risk of osteoporosis.
So, after walking through their approach to all these different life stages, what's the big idea tying it all together? Let's zoom out and take a look at the company's overarching philosophy.
Their entire philosophy is really built around this idea of a natural approach. They state that their goal isn't to override the body's natural processes, but to support what they call its inherent wisdom. The strategy is to provide nutritional building blocks so the body can, in theory, find its own balance.
And this tagline, which is taken directly from one of their product pages, really just encapsulates that whole brand ethos.
This idea of nurturing the body's wellness and balance from the inside out.
And this brings us to a final and pretty crucial point. Even the source material itself includes a disclaimer that it's always recommended to consult with a healthcare professional. This really leaves us with the central question for anyone considering this kind of path. Where exactly is the line between natural support and professional medical advice? And how do you best navigate